Today, we are going to be going over the top 5 silent profit killers in an agency that stop you from growing and scaling the way that you want, putting money in your pocket. If you're here and you're doing less than $1 million per year, this video is just not for you. This is a video for people with agencies that are getting close to $1 million and they're on their journey to scale up to $10 million per year. If your agency is stuck at anywhere between 100 to 400K per month and you're struggling to scale past that point, the problem probably isn't your sales and marketing. It's actually the hidden profit killers that you don't actually even know they exist. So today I'm going to break down the top 5 biggest killers holding your agency back and how to fix them step by step so you can finally scale efficiently and profitably. If you get to the end of this and you found this helpful, I have a full training for free. You can check that out in the description. Hey, I'm Nick. I've worked with dozens of agencies just like yours, agencies that are doing great work and have amazing results and have amazing people, but somehow you just can't break through that revenue ceiling. This is from a real client. We're getting people real results. Here's the actual monthly summary and what they were able to achieve. So they were only budgeting for about 100K in profit, which is actually already a lot, but they hit over 300K in profit. So this is pretty crazy. So let's get into how they made this happen. All right, so the first problem is not having the right dashboards or data architecture. You're gonna know if your agency has this problem. If there isn't a dashboard for each aspect of the agency, each manager doesn't have access to the dashboards, or your client success and satisfaction is not being continuously measured, because like this is gonna lead to downstream problems that are huge. In the absence of data, the problem is that everything becomes opinion-based and you can't manage what you can't measure. And here's the thing, this step matters pretty much more than anything else. Why? 95% of agencies do not have complete data reporting, and coincidentally, or not so much, 5% of agencies make over 35% profit or more. This is not a coincidence in any way, shape, or form. This is the key to actually unlock the best decisions in your agency. So you're going to be able to know what's going on in less than 10 minutes per week by having these dashboards in place. This can easily add even, anywhere from 5 to 15% profit on its own. I've seen actually even bigger results come from this. Why? Because when you make good decisions based off of good data and you make more decisions in that same way, you get compounding wins. And that's how you create momentum in your business. So here's the fixes. You need to have a dashboard for sales, marketing, client results, client satisfaction, productivity, resourcing, and finance. So you need at least 7 dashboards, okay? Then you need to give each manager an updated version of that dashboard weekly, monthly, and quarterly, and give them management guides to manage against those numbers. And you need to make sure that client success and satisfaction is measured both qualitatively and quantitatively. This is the way to fix it. If you want a breakdown of how to put together the 7 dashboards that I mentioned, look in the description below. I have a 1-hour training, and in that 1-hour training, I cover this section. Because here's the thing, if you get all 7 of these dashboards up and running, you no longer are going to have blind spots in your business. And guess what happens when you don't have blind spots? You make quality decisions and you catch problems before they become big. And if problems never become big, that means you have less fires. That means that you can work on your business more. And basically it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that you just keep getting more and more momentum and nothing slows you down. This is where it begins. So next we have billable resource allocation and capacity planning. And this goes along with forecasting. My estimates are as high as 90% of agencies having this problem. And actually it's probably more. And you've got this if you don't know how much revenue each person, team, and overall company can actually do on a weekly and monthly basis. So you need to know how much revenue and or hours people can work, not just right now, but into the future. And this is based off of the forecast. So if there isn't a weekly revenue forecast that includes current amounts, potential upsells, and your sales pipeline, you're not going to be able to understand what you can do, how much more you can sell, when do you need to hire. And this is really where the magic happens, when you combine the two, because this way you have all of your capacity by person, by function, by team, and you combine that with the revenue that's coming in. You know exactly how much more you can sell. You know exactly how full your team is, and you can proceed with a confidence that people aren't going to be able to tell you, hey, I just don't have time, because we have the data behind it. We don't want to manage capacity and forecasting based off of opinion, because people always think that they're more busy than they actually are. And why this stuff actually matters is because I've seen this add anywhere from 10 to 15% profit to the agency when this step goes in. But this also ensures that people aren't doing crazy overtime and then get burnt out. And then you can also Also, you can basically identify top performers on your team because they're the ones that are doing things very effectively, and you can promote them and or make them trainers for other people by measuring this data. So how do you actually put this together? You need to have a revenue forecast, and you do that by adding all of your revenue that's from a sales perspective and from an ongoing perspective, and you combine all of that into one report. That way you have all of your revenue, your sales revenue coming in at a multiplier, of course, because not all of it will come in for sure, and your ongoing revenue for at least the next 3 to 6 months. Okay. Then you have to create your capacity forecast. So you have to create billable estimates for all the products and projects that you're selling and retainers that you have per month, per role type, right? And then you aggregate that all into one report and then you combine them. So by combining these reports, you're taking all the sales, converting it into hours, and then you subtract those hours from the capacity forecast, leaving you with a plus minus. Are people overloaded, or do they have capacity to take on more work? And when we waste no capacity, that hits our profit line. For every hour that we waste, we are throwing money in the trash. The third killer is management and accountability systems. And your agency has this problem if you don't have job descriptions with metrics and objectives inside of them. Each metric doesn't have a KPI guide to actually manage it. So like your managers don't really know how to manage the numbers. And there isn't a standardized management methodology that you can hold your managers accountable to. And by the way, this is the number one reason agencies don't scale. It's because the middle management is preventing them from scaling because they're adding bureaucracy without actually focusing on the core things that deliver value in your business. So I'm going to give you an example of how to use this objective metric KPI thing. In this example, we're going to use a digital strategist that is client facing. So they are not only just a digital strategist, but they're also managing the account. So in this case, we are going to make the top 3 objectives be client retention, client results, and productivity. That's how we know if people are doing well. And these are in rank order. So like number 1 is client retention, number 2, client results, number 3, productivity. Then how do we find out if they're meeting their objectives? Well, for client retention, it's going to be based on client churn. But we want to be able to predict client churn, so we use Net Promoter Score to predict whether or not a client's going to leave before they actually do. Client results, it could be ROAS or MER, or number of leads. We can come up with a KPI that's like click-through rate or something like that. And number 3, productivity. In my opinion, you need an objective that measures client retention in some way, shape, or form. Client results is always number 2, and productivity must be 3. And this creates a really nice trifecta where if they're hitting all of these 3 numbers, it is putting not only the client in the best place to win, but also the agency. And by assigning these 3 objectives to your staff, you're also creating an environment where they're going to succeed when the business succeeds. The next thing you have to make sure you have is some kind of management methodology. I have this thing that I call like the 9 gates management accountability method. And the reason it's called that is because it's a method to hold managers accountable. If my managers are not doing these things, it is no longer an employee issue. It is a management issue. So managers can't just point the finger at employees and say, oh, hey, the employee isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's not my fault. I'm not going to get into this because this model takes a lot of time to get into. But if you go to the description below, that 1-hour training, I go over this in more depth. But here's the thing that you need to take away from this. This system ensures accountability. And when an agency is accountable, we are putting ourselves in the best position to succeed. Because if we don't hold people accountable for long enough, it will affect our culture. We're going to become a country club, and then good luck getting your agency to be profitable. Getting rid of the country club mentality takes a long time and is a lot of work. So if you haven't already gone there, find some sort of management accountability method that you can hold your managers to so it doesn't happen to you. All right, number 4, client retention and referrals are just too low. So around half of agencies get stuck because of client retention. And your agency has this problem if you can't retain clients for at least 18 months or more, or if less than 3 in 10 of your clients don't give you a referral or are spending more money with you year over year. And for a lot of agencies, this is the missing piece. You might have good client retention, but you don't have enough upsells and you don't have enough referrals from that client base. So how do we actually fix this? Well, I have a framework called Emotion, Logic, Insight. Emotion is all about client experience. Logic is about the actual results that they're paying for. And insights are these like moments that clients feel. So when you combine the experience and the results, this is the emotion and logic piece. This is what is basic value to the client. And if you don't realize basic value for the client, they're going to leave you sooner than they should. But when you take value and add insights in, you create raving fans. And this is where you get upsells, retention, and referrals. Insights can happen at 3 different levels. They can happen at the marketing level, they can happen at the business level, or at the industry level. We should be giving people marketing insights every single month. We should be giving them business and industry level insights every single quarter. And how we deliver the logic, emotion, insight framework is through the client onboarding. I have a thing called the 100 days of onboarding, and it's this mix of expectation, experience, and education that goes through the first 100 days. And I actually do 50 touch points in the first 70 business days for agency clients. So when we sign a brand new client for the agency, we have these 50 touch points, and they add some kind of value, either through the expectations, experience, or we're educating the client. And education and insights are very close cousins. So like, this is why it matters, because whenever you hear a client say, oh, I don't feel like you're leading us, what they're telling you is that you're not giving them enough insights and you're not educating them enough. At the end of 100 days of onboarding, you should do some sort of quarterly meeting, quarterly business review, and then plan out the next 3 to 6 months. And the reason that the quarterlies matter is because this is where you're going to deliver the majority of your insights. And insights have to be packaged right. The client has to understand that you know their own target audience better than they do. Okay. I use journey models. So like, this is an example of a journey model. And this is how I deliver insights to my agency clients. I first use the logic to explain the problem and how to capitalize on it. So for example, hey, there's this problem. We can fix the problem by doing steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we fix the problem, we're going to get our click-through rate on this page from 1% to 3.5%, which is market average, at least. So now I've detailed out what's at stake and how to capitalize on it. Steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm going to emotionally anchor the client to that retention or upsell by showing them what's possible. So think about it. Right now we're at 1%. If we go to 3.5%, that's an increase of 350%. How would that change the business? So you're basically creating this space for them to feel what that result could look like. And then we're going to ask for the upsell, because maybe steps 1, 2, 3 are in scope of what we do for the client, but steps 4 and 5 are not. So we're going to basically present them with, and hey, by the way, to capitalize on this increase, we need you to sign off on the following, basically an upsell. So insights have to be packaged in a very specific way to actually generate the upsells and generate those referrals, because if we capitalize on this, not only did we get the upsell, but the client's going to be over the moon happy and they're going to refer clients to us. The last killer is pricing. And pricing is a tricky thing. So we're only going to look at it from the high level. There'll be a different video that is way more into this, and you can find the descriptions below. Pricing and how many deals we win and how many deals we retain comes down to 3 things: the service that we deliver, the price that we actually charge, and what our brand position is. And let me walk through each one of these and how it matters in an example. In this example, I'm going to show you the ideal way to do this. You want a brand that looks amazing and that people trust because you have great case studies, great results, clients talking great about you. Like, this is really what matters. Okay. So let's put price here, maybe at like around a 7. Service is, an 8-ish, and brand's about an 8. So what happens in this type of scenario? Well, it's actually pretty straightforward. In this scenario, we can close a lot of deals. We can close the deals because like brand is in a very favorable spot. So it looks like we know what we're doing. And when people look at our brand in relation to the actual price, it looks like a bargain, right? Because, hey, the brand is here. They have great results. I think they can reasonably do this. They know what they're talking about. Price seems reasonable. So we can get this initial close. Then once we close them, the clients realize, wow, the bargain was real. The service and the brand are actually in pretty good alignment. Like, now they don't think of this logically, but this is like a feeling they have. Okay. And what this allows us to do is that we're capturing a lot of the surplus of our brand because we're getting good amounts of closes because we don't seem overpriced. And then when people buy, they're pleasantly surprised that the service is better than what they're paying for. They're getting a bit more than what they expected. But here's where things go wrong. In this example, we are pricing way below our brand and way below our service. And this might work well if we have a land and expand model. So if we're basically selling at below where we know we should, and we know that we can generate a bunch of upsells in short order, thereby moving the price in equilibrium with the actual service, this makes sense. But here's the problem. A lot of people are retaining clients because of this disparity here. And this means you're leaving money on the table if you're not expanding the scope of work after you sell the client. This leads to great retention, bad profitability. Now I'm going to show you what happens when you're actually churning too many clients. So in this example, based off of your brand and all the things in the sales process, people think, oh, like I'm getting a little bit of a deal. I would be willing to pay a little bit more. But guess what? After they start working with you, the service is actually below the price. This is where churn increases really, really quickly, and you don't want this. The way to get out of this is that you actually have to increase the service to actually match at least what they're paying for, if not a little bit more. So here's a key takeaway. If you want to maximize price, you have to be in alignment with your service. And this is not an easy thing because it's very hard to figure out what your clients actually value about you. But if you can make your price match your service, you're going to retain clients for the long run, meaning you're maximizing your service versus price ratio. So what this step actually ensures is that your revenue is sustainable, your team isn't burning out, and your agency is generating maximum profit per client because the service and price are in balance with each other. When you do one or two of these, you're going to add some profit to your bottom line and you're going to make your business more scalable. But if you do all five, this is what takes you from $1 to $10 million in annual revenue. You're going to be able to scale your agency predictably, profitably, and sustainably for not just the long and midterm, but the long run. As an added benefit, you're actually going to be able to unchain yourself from the desk because you're going to be working on the business rather than in it. If you want a free one-to-one scale and profit workshop where I can actually rank order over 60 key elements that might be making you leak profit and revenue and prevent you from scaling, DM me. This is only for agencies that are actually doing over 100K per month or more, and we'll create the exact order of the issues that we need to solve in order to maximize scale and profit. Fix these 5 profit killers first, and everything else is just going to fall into place for you.